Records fall, and so too does Christopher Newport. North Central dominates on the East Coast with a 43-13 win, highlighted by Broc Rutter setting the first of many passing records this season. We'll have the QB on the show, along with defensive Swiss Army knife Zach Greenberg. We'll also chat with Sports Information Director Teuscher for the first time this season. And there's a new man in charge of the NCC men's soccer program. That's our subject of the Cardinal Corner. But up first, head coach Jeff Thorne as we kick off season 12 of the Red Zone.
The presenting sponsor of the Red Zone is Athletico, the preferred provider of physical therapy and athletic training for North Central College.
And as always, we kick off the first episode with head coach Jeff Thorne. And you guys go East Coast, quite a traveling debacle.
Yeah,
you guys, just to get to the game, you had to go through some stuff. How proud of you were you, just of the team to get through that?
Very. It was quite a challenge. Just like you said, just getting to Newport News, given Hurricane Dorian and Norfolk, Virginia, Newport News being in the path of the cone, I guess. We lost our flight to Norfolk on Wednesday. It got canceled, so we had to scramble to find a new flight. And kudos to our administration at North Central for their commitment to helping us get there and being flexible and allowing us to do what was necessary to get there. So we ended up flying into D.C. late Thursday night. We showed up at about 3 a.m. at the hotel Friday morning. And then that was just kind of the beginning of the events that took place. So it was a lot of fun. Just kept getting stuff thrown at us, and our kids, the way they handled it was exactly how you hope, young guys handle some adversity that's thrown at them. And I think it's a great lesson for them, for their futures, to see when you handle it the right way, typically good things are going to happen. And that was the case this time.
We'll get to the game details in a second, but a cool moment, I think, for you and for the rest of the team when you were in D.C. You got to meet a special someone.
Yeah, Chase the Lion is a book that was written by Mark Batterson, who is the lead pastor at National Community Church out in Washington, D.C. He's a Naperville guy, went to Naperville Central, and grew up going to Calvary Church, which is where my wife and our family have attended for over 20 years. So I've known of Mark for years. Well, I read the book last year. That really became our rallying cry, Chase the Lion. It's about chasing big dreams. This year we kind of spun it off. One of the chapters is called Run to the Roar, and that's kind of what we're running with this year. And when I found out we're going to be in D.C., I called Mark immediately, and typically his schedule's planned out months in advance. He happened to be in town, and we got a chance to go meet with him, and he had a word for our team, so it was pretty exciting.
It's a great way to kick off the season, even though the rest of it was a little wonky.
Right.
But the game itself, 43-13 the final, you guys obviously showed up, and this is a team that isn't a pushover. What are your thoughts leaving that game about the way that you opened up the season?
Pleased with anytime you walk away from game one with a win, you're happy. That's the goal. We're going on a business trip to win a game, and our guys did a great job with that. But I think the effort level, the focus, handling the things that were thrown at us, very proud of that. There's certainly things we can clean up. We had too many penalties. Didn't communicate the way we need to at the line of scrimmage on offense. Really struggled with one particular play defensively that we're working hard on this week. So definitely things that we can build upon and get better at, but very pleased with playing a team that's a solid football team. They beat Wesley last year, which is a very, very good program in D3. So we're pleased.
Broc, 3 touchdown passes, and I'm sure you're aware, I'm sure he's aware, I'm sure everyone's aware, breaks the record. Pretty special.
It is, and to break a record that's been around as long as it has with Camp Kniss, our first 4-year starting quarterback, year 2 in our program, he was a freshman. That's quite an honor, and it says a lot because those were enormous numbers that Cam had put up in his career here. And just really proud of Broc. He had 2 touchdowns called back too, so it could have been a 5-touchdown day, and then he runs one in. So he's a special player, and we're going to enjoy the heck out of this last season with him and the rest of these seniors.
The offensive line is basically the same as it was last year. You've got some new pieces, but the stability there, I'm sure, is really helpful as you go into the year. Yeah,
a lot of experience, and that's at the line of scrimmage. That's critical. Guys that have been through our program, that have been in live situations, played a lot of varsity football games. We had a freshman start at center, and Gerard's done a great job. He's bigger. He's really physically strong. Some of the communication things were an issue where you got a new guy coming in and not used to communicating with these older guys.
Yeah.
Those are things that I think will most certainly get fixed. So we're excited about where we're going with that group. They had a great day yesterday at practice, ironically.
I mean, you talk about an offensive line going inside out. You've got Sharmore Clark and Ricky Sturba next to this, fresh.
Yeah.
That's
well, and they were honored yesterday with the D3.com Team of the Week selection for our offensive line. So that's something that they should really hang their hat on. Coach Studeman in his first game at North Central as our offensive line coach, and his guys are honored. So really excited for him. He's done a great job.
That's awesome. Let's talk about the supporting cast on offense because the backfield is going to be mostly the same. I'm sure you got some new playmakers that are a little bit further down the depth chart, but Greenfield and Terrence Hill look pretty good in this game.
They were both dynamite. Yeah, Terrence really did a great job in situations where we maybe didn't have it blocked exactly how you'd like at the point of attack, and he has a little wiggle to him, and he's really explosive. So it was good to see him make something out of nothing, and he finished runs really well, and Ethan was tremendous as well.
Receiving core. So now Broc is throwing to some new faces. You lose Fickus, you lose Hartema, but the two tight ends are now the same, and you got a weapon that emerged in Blake Williams. Aside from obviously Andrew Kaminsky, we're just leaving Andrew because he's the stable force in that group.
Right. Yeah. Blake had a great day, and he really had a great camp. What he's done since his freshman year in reshaping his body, he came in at 6'4", and I think he was about 120 pounds. Kidding. All kidding aside. He was really thin, and he's worked hard to turn himself into, I want to say he's about 185, 190 pounds now. Runs fast, and that length is hard to teach, 6'4". So it's exciting what he's going to bring to the table, and we've got some other young guys that are ready to start making strides too.
That's great. I want to talk about the defense coming up next. We'll also check the tape from that first game, but we'll take a break, and we'll be right back on the Red Zone. Welcome back, and it's time to check the tape. And Coach, let's start with this, an offensive play where Blake Williams, we just mentioned him, wiggles free in the secondary, and something you just mentioned was the communication with some of the players.
Yeah, they came off the field after our first or second drive and told us, the middle of the field's wide open, Coach. If we go back, we'd run this concept earlier, and if we go back to it, let's give that a peek, because that's more of a protection release kind of route typically, and so we went back to it, and sure enough, Blake's wide open, and that's irreplaceable when you have players who come back to you as coaches with reliable information of what's happening on the field. We're looking at everything from the side. They're seeing it as the game is happening, and it's a big difference between what they see and what we see. So Drew Kaminsky came and talked to Broc, and sure enough, we went back to it again with Tyler Egan, and we got it. So 2 touchdowns on the same play, all off of communication from our players.
It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Defensively, you want to get after the quarterback. You want to make their life difficult, and I think this defensive line is going to do that this year.
Yeah.
But on this particular play, you get some pressure off the edges, and it results in a big boy interception by Isaiah.
Yeah. Taha got the pressure and got his hands on the quarterback. Looked like the ball went off of maybe Tommy Highland's helmet. And then Big Isaiah comes up with an interception. I don't know that he was still grinning from ear to ear as we were boarding the plane to come home. Just the grin never came off his face, so he was pretty excited.
Now let's go to the final play, and you just alluded to this, the touchdown to Tyler Egan. But I want to break down this throw because I mentioned this to Broc, who will be on set in a moment. It literally looks like he's just throwing a Nerf ball in the backyard with some of his buddies.
That's what happens when you've got a fifth-year senior quarterback that started for 4 years. There's no panic in Broc. It's 4th down on this play, and he's got a trail defender, so you've got to put some touch on the ball. It's got to go up and come down and land on the receiver, and you can't throw it any better than he did.
We've talked in the past about arsenal for a quarterback, the ability to throw different kind of balls. You got some straight line balls, you got some touch. Is there anything that isn't in his arsenal?
No. He made a throw on a naked or a sprint out, and he had pressure in his face, so his hips are facing the sideline. That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
You're running this way and you got to throw it that way. and he threw a dime to Drew Kaminsky for, I don't know, about an 18, 19-yard gain, set us up to where we could go for it on 4th down, and then we converted. So those things are, again, they're not things you can teach. You know, he's got the ability to make all the throws that are necessary, and it's no surprise he's breaking records as a result.
Yeah. Let's talk about the defense. We already talked about the defensive line. Let's get to the linebacking core, because Zach Greenberg, who's also going to be on set in a moment, now part of that positional group. Storm Simmons, we got Ben Wong, Brian Beauchamp.
Right.
That's another very experienced group that's coming back, and there's going to be a lot of faces, it seems like, that are going to be producing.
Yeah, we've got multiple guys that we can rotate in there to keep them fresh.
Yeah.
Storm had 6 tackles. Some of those were on special teams. Some of them were as a non-starter getting reps in the game. I thought Ben played very well. There's certainly things that they all can improve upon, but it was a really good way to start the season from that position group.
Now, defensive backs, and it looks like you're going to be anchored by Jake Beasley, who, I mean, everything I've heard is that he has really started to grasp the cornerback position. How excited are you about what he will present this year?
Jake's a rare talent at this level. I mean, I think we've talked about him in years past with his testing numbers. I mean, he runs in the 4.4s. He jumps. You know, broad jump is a test that's used at the combine. He's a 10'10", 10'11" broad jumper. His change of direction numbers are off the charts. He dunks a basketball effortlessly, and he's just a special athlete. He's an All-American talent that we moved to corner late in the spring of last year, not this year, last year. So he only had a few days of practicing corner before we got to camp last year, and he just kept getting better and better and better. And now he's playing, in my opinion, at an All-American level. I mean, he just locked down that side of the field, had an interception, playing more physical. He's about 195 pounds now at 6'3". So he's a rare talent at this level, and he played fantastic on Saturday. Jeremy
Nicholas seems like maybe the best comp for him.
Yeah,
kind of a bigger bodied.
Jeremy was about 6'1", and Jeremy had an unbelievable senior year.
Yeah.
So we're looking to see that kind of production from Jake as a junior this year.
Last thing I want to get to is those safeties, because this is a new group. I mean, you lost 2, I think, 5-year seniors last year. And maybe the more curious case is Dakota Cremines. I mean, you've obviously had experience turning offensive players to defensive players. What was that transition like from receiver to safety for him?
Just looking for a guy that can run and change directions in a way that position demands. And Dakota was an easy choice for us. He was playing some on offense. He would have been playing a bunch this year. But our offense, we were rotating guys in and out far more than what you see on defense. And you know, it just appealed to us to have him on the field play after play. He's a really intelligent kid. He's athletic, and he's a leader. So.
All right. Well, the next time I'll talk to you, we'll have already seen the Wash U game. So good luck against Wash U, and
Kevin.
We'll see you next time.
All right.
Coming up next, we have a couple of players joining me on set. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
This Red Zone segment is brought to you by Jimmy John's.
Our first play of the game is one for the record books, literally. With his 31-yard touchdown pass to Tyler Egan, senior quarterback Broc Rutter sets a new record for touchdown passes in a career with 92. On pace to rewrite the record book more than once, 2019 figures to be a big year for Rutter and the Cardinal offense. Welcome back, Zach Greenberg, Broc Rutter, guys. Great opening win. Should be in a really exciting season. You set the tone early. Zach, I want to start with you. That defense looked pretty tenacious. Not only the interception from Beasley, but from Isaiah too. How happy were you guys that he came away with a pick?
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome. When I saw the ball up in the air and Isaiah kind of tracking it, I was the closest guy to him, and he started running like a loaf of bread in his hand. But he had like 4 offensive linemen like kind of dragging on him, and I was like looking for a way to block for him, and I was just like, I don't know, I was screaming and yelling, and he got up, and I was hitting him on the helmet. It was really fun.
The loaf of bread illusion, I feel like you've seen that in the cafeteria maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
How good is this defense going to be? You feel pretty ferocious?
In my 4 years here is the best group we've had so far.
Really? Why is that?
Just we get along together, the chemistry's going. When we're clicking, we're really clicking. We're on. We can compete with our offense like we've never had before. It's fun. It's fun to be out there with all those guys.
Now, last year you had obviously DJ, and DJ was a playmaker. I mean, the sack totals, the tackle for loss totals were off the charts. Feels like there's no one guy that maybe teams can key on. Yeah. Is that maybe helpful? Is that beneficial?
Very helpful. Even when we started camp out, Coach Sinclair alluded to that, and he was like, DJ was our playmaker last year, but honestly, as a defense as a whole, it's going to help us out because you're going to get, Beauchamp will make a play, then maybe I'll have to make a play. You're just doing your 1/11th, and the plays are going to come to you if you're doing your job.
Interesting. Now, Broc, you've been doing your job for 4 years now, and that record book, it now has your name. Well, it has your name rated all over it anyways, but now at the top of the passing touchdowns. Are you aware? Are you thinking about that at all?
No, not really. Try not to think about it. It's an honor to be up there with those guys that have been here in the past. They've had so many great quarterbacks here all the time, but I'm not really looking for that. I'm looking for the team stuff to win football games.
You can leave that to me. We'll be talking about that a lot during the broadcast this year. But new weapons this year. I mean, you've got some new receivers. Andrew's obviously the one guy that's come back, and you can rely on Andrew. But who else you got out there that you're excited about?
Yeah, I think we got a nice balance of young guys and veteran guys, and obviously having a guy like Andrew back is huge. But some of the guys, everyone worked really hard this offseason, so it's great to see it pay off for guys like Blake Williams, Matt Metz, Corey Blair, just guys who have been going through the program and doing everything that's asked of them for 3 years now, and they're finally starting to be able to reap the benefits of that and start to make plays, and I think we'll see more plays out of them this year.
Now, if you get the ball to Kaminsky enough, I think he'll set some records too.
Yeah, exactly. He's a nice weapon to have.
Now, both of you guys look a little bit more solid this year. Looks like some muscle was added in the offseason. Zach, we'll start with you. Getting geared up to be more of a linebacker hybrid. Is that was it an exciting challenge to undergo?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any defensive guy is going to say they love contact, so getting a little more contact in there obviously juices me up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Broc, it looked like you added some muscle too.
Yeah, I think as a team collectively, we just wanted to go in and attack the offseason, and we knew we had to get bigger and get stronger, and I think we accomplished that, and we did it as a collective unit.
Who's your lifting partner?
I was a lot with Blake Williams and Jake Peasley, so it was good to see Blake put up some numbers and perform this week.
Yeah, and Zach, how about you?
Yeah, we had a little breakfast club kind of over the summer, me and Brian Beauchamp and Ben Wong, so us 3 linebackers.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting stuff in the weight room.
Yeah, very exciting. New tunes every day and just getting pumped with each other. We're the only 3 up at that hour in the morning.
How early?
We got up at 5 a.m., got there at like 5:30 every day. Yeah.
You in bed by 7 or 8 then?
Yeah, 7, 8, 9, something like that.
Wow.
Beauchamp's like the dad of the group. He always gets to bed at like 8:30.
Eating dinner at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Now, offensively, it all starts up front, and you got your big boys in front of you. Sharmore is Sharmore. We all know what he presents. But how about that new center and trying to incorporate him with the rest of those veterans?
Yeah, I think Gerard's came in and done a great job. Gerard was in here communicating with me all offseason, all summer, knew he wanted to be a part of this, and has done everything asked of him, worked really hard, put the time in, and I think he's starting to really mesh well with the veteran guys who are around him, and they could help him out and just carry him along the way.
How about those edge guys in Colton and Will? How they doing this year?
They're doing well. Them and Jake Fiedler has been working in there, Derek Murphy, so I think we got a bunch of guys who can do some great things, so I'm looking forward to see how they gel and come together.
All right, well, now it's time for the quick hits. And I know Broc's worried about this first one, so we'll start with Zach. We'll give him more time to think. If you're a candy bar, what candy bar best describes you?
I don't know. I was trying to think of a candy bar like, I don't know, maybe Kit Kat, because I don't know, like a Nichols, a linebacker DB, it only has 2 ingredients, a little half and half.
Give me a break.
Yeah, give me a break.
Broc?
I don't got anything for that one. I don't know. That's a good one.
What's your favorite candy bar?
I would have to say Snickers.
Snickers?
Snickers bar.
Interesting. See, I was really hoping you'd come up with one and they could say something like, hopefully your receivers don't say Butterfingers.
Yeah, how about it?
I've had that joke lined up for like 6 hours already, but it's all right. It's all right. Broc, we'll start with you on this one. If you had a personal slogan, what is that slogan?
I think I've tried to use the one that our team is using this year, Run to the Roar. We kind of just bought in as a group to just, when we get adversity, just to run to it and attack it with full confidence and go in there confident, just go after it.
Interesting. Zach?
Yeah, kind of along the same lines like our last year's quote, Chase the Lion, just setting like dreams that scare you and chasing them down. If you aim for the stars, you'll land somewhere up there, right? Whatever
Perfect.
the saying is.
That works. And then this last one. So, Zach, we'll start with you. You find a time machine. If you can only take one trip, where are you going and when you going?
I was thinking like going back to like a Super Bowl, like day before a Super Bowl, you put a bunch of money on it or something.
There you go.
Or winning a lottery.
A huge underdog
lottery.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Any way to make a bunch of money usually.
Now, Broc, I mean, you're going back to the Super Bowl,
I
too,
think I'm going Dallas, Texas, 2010, Super Bowl, Green Bay versus Pittsburgh.
Every year, you say something about the Packers.
Yeah, big coming off a win last week, too.
You know you're right in the middle of Bears country, right?
Yeah, I do. Good time right now, though, to be in.
How many Packer fans are on this team? You got a few?
Coach Fairley.
Is
Coach
it really?
Joe
That's
Fairley.
it?
That's about it.
That's about right. That should be about right. But you got another game coming up. The Bears will get you. Just like last year, I think we were coming right off that Packers opening win too. And we had you on set. But guys, thanks so much for hopping on. We'll see you a few weeks from now when you guys are in Wash U. Good luck.
Yep.
Coming up next, we got the Cardinal Corner. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
Hey guys, how are you today?
Good.
I'm here to talk about how with technology you can make amazing worlds. Come with me. My team and I bring the Halo world to life.
Is that you?
That is me. I wasn't a math genius and I knew nothing about coding. But you guys do. You guys have the power to change things.
I want your job.
I want you to have my job.
This Red Zone segment is sponsored by Belgio's Catering.
This is a story about love. It's not sappy, but rather the best and most succinct way of explaining how the new North Central men's soccer coach got here.
I always loved North Central, always loved the campus, the community in Naperville, so it was an easy transition, easy move.
Enzo Fuschino has arrived after 12 years of coaching at UW-Platteville. The Naples, Italy native has been in the U.S. for 30 years. The reason why he came over? His wife Jennifer.
We met in 1984, a long time ago. She was an exchange student from Syracuse, New York, and that's where love started.
But his love of the game started long before that. He started playing at an early age and has never let go of that passion.
I love my job. I don't think it's a job. I wake up every day feeling very lucky and privileged to be doing what I love the most.
The passion comes through. A team captain, Austin Lombardi, explains the quick connection with the coach.
He has a certain expectation of us, and we want to kind of make him proud.
The Cardinals appear on their way to doing just that, with loads of talent back on the roster. But the leadership returning is far more important.
We're returning a good core of our starting 11, which is good. A lot of leadership being brought back, a lot of experience kind of from the past teams. So a lot of juniors, a lot of seniors who kind of know their way around the program and who are able to lead.
And hopefully lead the team to a few more wins, which Fuschino would, love. Welcome back into the Red Zone. Clark Teuscher joining the set. And, I mean, there's a lot to get to, Clark. Welcome back for the 12th season.
Thank you.
And let's jump right into it. Men's soccer. And we have a new coach at the helm and a pretty good start to the season.
Yeah, I mean, he had a decent talent pool returning to work with. I think he was pretty excited about that once he got hired. Talked to him after one of their preseason scrimmages. He talked about how they needed to get more aggressive on offense, and it took them about a game and a half to really kind of get going in that respect. But once they did, we started to see the ball in the net a little more often, and some good results to go along with that.
Now, obviously a cultural shift, but do you kind of sense maybe some optimism around the program, whether that's the players or the coaching staff?
Yeah, it's more just about how they operate from day to day. Enzo's a guy who, he so clearly loves the game of soccer and he's passionate about it. And the guys kind of feed off of that. So as they're going through practice and preparation, those kinds of things, there's always kind of that undercurrent of enthusiasm that comes around all of it. And I think we've seen that translate onto the field as well.
Coach Gamarra still at the helm of the women's team. How are they doing this year?
Very well. Another strong recruiting year. They started off the season with a trip out to Washington State and came back with a pair of victories. Had a tough one on Tuesday against a nationally ranked Loras College program. But certainly off to a promising start as they get ready for conference play in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Now to triathlon, because they're back-to-back national champions. This year they didn't open up at home, which was kind of bizarre, but they go up to Wisconsin and once again dominate the field.
Decided this year to take a break from hosting that first race. There's a lot that goes along with that, and the decision was made to focus more on competing to start the season. Definitely a different group than competed last year. Grace Miller's the only one that competed at nationals who's back this year. But certainly the same results. I mean, they went through and won in convincing fashion. They have an addition from the cross-country program in Madeline Scopp, who has always been kind of a recreational triathlete, wanted to give it a go, and wound up being the first finisher in the first race out. So that was a bit of a surprise, but definitely promising as they get a new season started.
For a new program that obviously has so much success right away, it's always been interesting to see that first turnover, because that's really kind of the mark of a good coach. Jenny Garrison seems to have done it flawlessly, hasn't she?
Yeah, it's one of those things that she's done such a great job. It's something that people at other institutions, even if they enroll somewhere else initially, are drawn to want to be a part of. So she's getting some of it from these athletes who are coming straight out of high school, but also there's a transfer market that's coming in that we didn't really anticipate. But that shows you the atmosphere and the culture that she's built just in a couple of years within that program.
Now, you mentioned the women's cross-country team and the fact that Madeline Scopp went from that team to the triathlon team, but they're still loaded with talent too.
Certainly that's a significant role to fill there, but they have several the decision on who was going to run at the conference and regional meets was kind of difficult last year because they had a lot of people of similar ability competing against each other. And I think we saw that in the first race that everybody kind of ran in with UW Parkside last Friday. Definitely a strong, pack running mentality. Generally pretty healthy, which is not always a given at the start of a season when you have to train as hard as they do to be fit and in shape. But they seem to be pretty optimistic about their ability to finish at or near the top of the conference this year once again.
I feel like this is an annual conversation about the men's cross-country team. They lose a whole lot, and look what they have in store, another fantastic roster.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's been made about how many guys graduated off last year's national team, but the cupboard wasn't exactly bare.
No.
If you made all the seniors sit out last year at the conference meet, the guys, the underclassmen who would have run in their place would have won with a score of 16 points, which is one short of a perfect score. So there was certainly talent to fill the rest of the roster this season. And I think now that those guys have gotten a chance to run up front and have that responsibility, they've responded very well.
Now, football, not only are they obviously hunting for a national championship this year, but some personal records are bound to be set, and we've already seen one. You guys are kind of prepping to make sure you're ready for all the Broc Rutter statistics that are going to be flooding your desk, aren't you?
Yeah, part of our job is to be ready when those kinds of things happen, and that was one of my charges to our staff was to make sure that we had certain assets in place for whenever that stuff happens. Certainly with Broc, we've had enough experience, being ready for him to do things that haven't been done before. And finding new and creative ways to communicate that, whether it's visually or otherwise, is always a challenge that we look forward to. So we're ready for him to do whatever it is he feels like doing out there.
That's how his opponents feel too, isn't it? Let's get to the quick hit. Your question is, if you had a personal slogan, what would that slogan be?
I think this is something that my staff has heard me say several times. Don't overthink it. When you're doing the things that we do, sometimes they're very detailed, sometimes, and certainly that's all very public work, so there can be a tendency to paralyze yourself with analysis of it. And so a lot of times it's simpler than people think it is. So that's typically a solid strategy for most things that I encounter, is don't overthink it. Keep it simple.
All right, well, we won't see you next week, but we'll see you the week after. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on the Season 12 premiere. I can't wait to see what this year of Cardinal football has in store. Hopefully you come along for the ride. We're off next week before returning on September 26th just before the Cardinals host North Park on homecoming. I'm Kevin Jackman. I'll catch you next time.